WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
This is a Fox News alert. A deadly shooting in Charlotte. I'm Lisa Lacera.
Today's an absolute tragic day for the city of Charlotte and for the profession of law enforcement.
Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Chief Johnny Jennings, after 3 members of a U.S. Marshals task force were killed and 5 other officers were wounded this afternoon.
The U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force went to the 5,000 block of Galway Avenue in an attempt to serve a warrant on an individual for possession of firearm by a convicted felon.
He says the officers were shot at as they approached the home. They fired at the suspect in the front yard. That suspect was killed. 2 other people found in the home after a 3-hour standoff are now in custody. Jennings says 2 shooters were involved in the attack. 2 Polk County, Florida deputies remain hospitalized, and the man who shot them is dead after a shooting at a park Saturday night. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says the deputies were trying to pull the man from a car after he refused commands to get out on his own.
His car started rolling. They grabbed the window, and all of a sudden, he started shooting.
Sheriff's office had ordered extra patrols in the area because there had been a series of thefts from cars. Columbia University has begun suspending students who refuse to break down encampments as they continue pro-Palestinian protests.
The so-called Gaza Solidarity encampment still sitting in the middle of campus hours after the university's president threatened to suspend the students who just didn't clear out voluntarily, saying they'd have to sign some paperwork. We have seen some of the tents have kind of gone away, but there still has been a presence. There were just about 100 tents here just the other day.
Fox's Alexis McAdams at Columbia University. 2 people charged with murder in the killings of a couple whose remains were found scattered around New York's Long Island earlier this year. Jeffrey Mackey and Alexis Nieves pleaded not guilty to killing Malcolm Brown and Donna Connolly. America's listening to Fox News.
Sometimes I
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It started with a stolen car. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. A carjacking Monday afternoon on the east side. It happened on English Avenue near South Rural Street and Southeastern Ave.
That individual victim had injuries consistent with trauma. After IMS arrived, he was transported to an area hospital where he was listed in critical condition.
IMPD Public Info Officer William Young says the victim died in the hospital. They later found the stolen car. Police have a person of interest in custody. You have a right to free speech, says Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, but there's a line you shouldn't cross. He tells WIBC's Tony Kinnett some anti-Israel protesters at IU have crossed that line.
The message down there is mutilation of all Jews. It's very, very clear. And we realized that very, very early on.
Carter joined several of his officers the last few days on IU's campus where several of the protesters were arrested after a school policy change no longer allowed tents to be set up on Dunn Meadow. Jury selection in the Delphi murders trial starts in 2 weeks. Donnie Burgess reports the prosecutor wants key defense info kept away from the jury.
Odinism, alternate suspects and theories from police, geo-tracking data, all key parts of the defense for suspect Richard Allen. It's that information and much more that prosecutor Nick McClellan wants kept away from the jury. In a motion filed Monday, McClellan argues all of that information would be confusing for the jury, so it should be kept out. The trial is supposed to begin May 13th, but there are still several motions to settle. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
A wet overnight is ahead of us. Low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s, scattered showers exiting in the early morning. Tomorrow we start off mostly cloudy, clouds decrease, highs in the mid 70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
At First Financial Bank, we have 4.5% APY on money market accounts and high rates on CDs. It's easy. Just stop into your local First Financial Bank to open your account, and we'll do the rest. What are you waiting for? Start growing your money today. APY equals annual percentage yield. $25,000 minimum deposit required for money market. Offer ends June 1st, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bank@first.com for details.
First! Show Mom just how much you love and respect her with fresh flowers from Gillespie Florists. Mom will smile for all to see when she receives your beautiful and fragrant bouquet from Gillespie Florists. Hundreds of styles to choose from, or let the mom pleasers at Gillespie help you decide. Easily make this Mother's Day memorable. Click on GillespieFlorist.com right now to place your order. Visit Gillespie Florists at 10th and Raceway, online at GillespieFlorist.com, or call 273-1100. Gillespie Florists, for all the flowers in your life.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality, he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something was wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey. The Amber and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. That's 93.1 FM in Indianapolis. The live streams on YouTube and Twitter X and the podcasts, anywhere else. Well, it really is a great, fantastic competition. I'm not talking about the Summer Olympics in France. I'm not talking about the NBA. I'm not talking about the draft and the NFL coming up soon. No. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the most important fight in our nation's history. I'm talking about watermelons versus bananas. And by watermelons versus bananas, you might think that I'm talking about perhaps elementary students having a food fight. No, this would actually be much more dignified if this were elementary students throwing food at each other. No, I'm talking about the pro-Hamas / Marxist coalition that is typically goes by the watermelon, the green and red symbolizing green for radical Islam, and red symbolizing the kind of Marxist socialist movement. That alliance versus, I guess, bananas. So this all starts with at least a tweet that was sent out this week, over the weekend, I should say, from a pro-Palestine, I'm not going to call her a journalist, but a pro-Palestine activist. And she shared a video, and she said that there were these Zionist protesters who had crept into the encampment at Columbia University, the private university where a lot of the pro-Palestine protesters have set up camps like homeless people. And they had snuck on and they had seen this sign that said no bananas. Because according to another source, one of our comrades has a banana allergy. And so the Zionists, they crept away. They snuck away like super special Mossad secret forces. And they came back and they did something unthinkable, guys. They were brandishing bananas. That's right. They broke out the chiquitas, akimbo, one in each hand, and they were waving them around. And this is incredibly super dangerous because, as you know, if you're allergic to bananas, the sight of a banana in the distance, nay, the color of a banana can send you into horrible, paralyzing, gonna die right on the spot shock. I mean, the sight of a guy in a banana costume just sends you into convulsions. Oh my. And by the way, she also said that the Zionists were brandishing the bananas like Zionist settlers brandishing machine guns. That is a real thing a real person typed. If you can watch the live stream, here's actually the person. It's just a girl in an Israeli flag, and she's just eating a banana. And she's holding bananas up in the air. That's it. That's the big threat. That's really impressive. So this really strong coalition of LGBTQ queers for Palestine, and then the jihadist Islamic groups, which is really, by the way, a whole group that's made up of like really progressive women and very, very, very effeminate guys. I'm not going to call them men because let's face it, they're not. And they are taken down, as in their entire protest is derailed. They have been losing their ever-loving minds because someone brought bananas. That's it. That's enough to derail the entire thing. They were calling the police and UCLA security, and they were like mourning in the streets. Oh no, not bananas. Yeah, I have a hard time believing that you guys on the left would ever do any decent moving at all in any kind of a social conflict, given that a fruit not even native to the United States is enough to take you down. So the whole university protest situation has been a mess. Columbia is finally starting to suspend students. A lot of red state governors have been moving in police and like riot troops because, again, the actions of the protesters on most of these university campuses are not just protesting. It includes trespassing. It is not public property. Anytime you see a spot on a university, that doesn't automatically make it public property. And they are blocking individuals who are 99% of the time Jewish from entering classrooms or dormitories that they have paid for, and are also harassing individuals, not just by yelling at them, but by inciting violence, by saying things like, I want to kill all of insert group here, and then not even actually getting in trouble for it. I mean, again, inciting violence where you say, I want to commit assault, and here's how I'm going to commit assault. That's illegal. You can't do that. That's not covered under free speech because you are threatening to kill someone else. So all of these things aside, you would expect that the Biden administration, the same Joe Biden who went down to Charlotte and, went down to Charleston and spoke in the church and said, any act of racism is wrong, and I've always stood against any kind of racial supremacy. And he was yelling about how just the event of something happening, this was enough to send in the troops. Oh, this is just going to stop all of this nonsense right away. That was Biden's message. And again, when Jussie Smollett came out and told everyone that he was attacked in Chicago at 2 a.m. by a bunch of MAGA hat wearing sneaky guys yelling, this is MAGA country, ooh, and they beat him to death with his Subway sandwich, that all of these individuals on the left came out and did the whole believe all women and everything was totally super true just because they said it. Now that there are riots on American universities, campuses, in which they are openly calling for ethnic cleansing, all of a sudden, well, I need some context, otherwise I'm not able to really talk about this. Here is Karine Jean-Pierre giving actual, genuine word Caesar salad, including the dressing, today at a press conference.
Yeah. Is the answer no? The administration has not been in touch with anyone at Columbia.
I don't have any readout. I should have answered that, and I believe that was Jeff's question. I don't have any calls to read out to you of conversations with any university leaders at this time. Obviously, the president's going to go speak at Morehouse, and so we've been in touch with them because he's going to deliver a commencement speech. He's looking forward to doing that. It is such an important moment in time for graduates, and he's going to go.
So to save you the rest of that ramble, actually, no, that was his question. I should have answered it. I don't have anything. Yes, I'm the White House press secretary, and given that this is one of the top 5 things happening in the country at the moment, you would think that I would have come prepared with some kind of a briefing and a yes or no answer to a question. But instead, I don't know if we've talked to anybody or not, some kind of a briefing. Oh, the president's very excited to go speak at this commencement pretty soon. Woo! Historic press secretary, ladies and gentlemen. So historic, you don't even know how historic she is. Historicing all over the place. And why does Karine Jean-Pierre have to do all of the heavy lifting? Because, and again, if you are watching the live stream, here is President Biden, who is being spoken to by a young man, and like the dementia-ridden ancient edifice he is, starts losing focus, and then just kind of turns away from him because he doesn't know what's going on. That's not what you do in conversations with people. You don't just slowly turn away, like with your entire body in your neck, just slowly pivot away. The man is genuinely almost dead. That's the president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. He cannot walk more than about half a mile per hour if he is held on both arms and both legs by his wife, who's a terrible person for allowing him to continue serving in this role, and a group of aides moving all of his limbs like he's some kind of mannequin at Kohl's. Here's the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, struggling to eat salad at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So actually, someone who was at this event shot me a text while they were there, and they said, I know we're going to get footage of it later. The president can't even get food onto a utensil. And he sat there for like 35, 40 seconds trying to very gingerly balance a piece of lettuce on his fork. You guys know you eat like a salad and you stab with the fork, right? Like that's something all of us have done forever. And no one will come around to it except for a very few in the Democrat Party. So Biden has bet his entire campaign on a few of the youths, on the Gen Zs and the last of the millennials. They're going to come save his campaign. But according to every single poll in existence, every single poll, the youths aren't coming out to vote. It ain't happening, Captain. And so that led Bill Clinton's great strategist, James Carville, to go on a rant today where he decided to, cuss out those you're trying to get to come vote for you.
If they get a hold, there will be no government left. There will be no rights left. You'll live under theocracy. You'll end up with Christian nationalism. But that's all right, you little 26-year-old. You don't feel like the election's important to me. They're not addressing the issues that I care about.
Yeah, that'll show them. That'll convince them to vote for you right there. That'll get them right out to the polls. And this leads to some lessons that James Carville and the Democrat establishment and the institutional media from the local affiliate stations like 4, 6, 13, they have not learned a very important lesson. We're going to be talking about that up next. Don't go anywhere. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
You love spring in Indy, so don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Mike did. He called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and just looked like garbage. We had received a postcard from Rhino Shield, and we decided to take a look at it.
Rhino Shield's formulated for our specific climate here in Indiana.
The process with Rhino Shield and their crew, they were just very conscientious. We had problems in the past with painters. They leave debris and everything. Well, we didn't have that with Rhino Shield.
Way better than paint, backed by a 25-year warranty. Right now, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
The thing about the Rhino Shield, the heat gain has been reduced, and we save $70 a month. You don't hear that about any type of paint.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino!
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield!
The laundry room. For as long as I can remember, this was the only place to get a good Wi-Fi connection. Until we got Xfinity. Now we have Wi-Fi all over the house. So, you're probably wondering why I'm still hanging out in here, when I could be happily streaming in the attic, basement, or literally any other room. Well, the truth is, it's warm in here. And I like the smell of dryer sheets.
Get out of here, weirdo.
Hey, close the door! You're letting cool air in.
That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with Xfinity. New customers, learn how you can save $1,000 over T-Mobile in your first year with Connect Internet and Xfinity Mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Compares promotional pricing for Xfinity Connect Internet and 2 unlimited plus mobile lines versus T-Mobile Home Internet and 2 Magenta plan lines. Equipment not included. After promo, regular rates apply.
Hey, it's Hammer Nigel, and look, if you're over 60 and you've not filed for Social Security, there's some stats you might want to know about.
Did you know that 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income?
Wow, and it's because they file for their benefits at the wrong time. Now, you could learn how you could wring every nickel out of the benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery. He's your retirement guy right here in Indy.
The free analysis makes filing for Social Security as easy as it can be, and it could help ensure you get the last penny out of the benefits that are rightfully yours.
So if you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement and you've not filed for Social Security, call now, 317-648-5120. That's 648-5120. Schedule your free analysis by calling Bill Demery at 648-5120. And tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Are you struggling with anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues but feel like you have to keep it together and tell everyone I'm fine? Hi, this is Pastor Micah Beckwith from Life Church, and we want you to know you're not alone. At Life Church, we are in the middle of our 5-week series called I'm Not Fine to bring awareness and understanding to mental illness. Through Through powerful stories, biblical teaching, and community support, we'll explore what it means to honestly face our struggles and find healing. Join us at Life Church as we start breaking down the stigmas together. Go to lifechurchin.com for our service times and locations.
When life happens, Michelis happens to help you through it. That includes water, storms, fire, and the whole insurance mess. Working hand in hand with the claims adjuster, Michelis is your advocate, your voice, your local trusted advisor for cleaning up, building back, and moving forward when disaster strikes. Now that is an insurance policy. Make it Michelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This hour on WIBC, powered by Sundown Gardens, Hamilton County's spring nursery headquarters.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. So the media is running around just asking the same question over and over and over and over and over again. Well, how do we get the youths to care about the election? Oh man, we got to stop talking. We got to start talking about Christian nationalism. It's in the wings and it's terrible. Oh, just the horrors, the fears, the other existential dreads, and polls aren't showing that anyone actually cares about that. If you actually look at what the adults in the United States have consistently stated that are their top priorities are the economy and the raging inflation that the Biden administration and Janet Yellen have never, ever, ever, ever calmed down. Remember, Janet Yellen for the Fed came out and told everyone that, this was just transitory inflation. It was just temporary, guys. It was just going to happen for a second, and then it was going to be done. Totally fine, taken care of. And it turned out that was a load of crap. Big shocker. They're also concerned about immigration because the very first day the Biden administration waltzed in like a drunken goose and rescinded all of former President Donald Trump's border executive orders, actions, and later on things like Title 42. Scrapped all of them and bragged about it everywhere in the media. And now we have a very serious and considerable border crisis. And the government of Mexico, the Estados Unidos de Mexico, right south below us, are blackmailing the United States for $20 billion in just unfrozen pure liquid assets so that they might stop illegal immigration tunneling through their country a little bit more. Americans also care about the rising crime rates that are happening, again, from illegal immigrants, but also from the transgender community. These unstable students in places like Massachusetts and Pennsylvania and Lebanon, Indiana, in which you have a trans student that beats up students who don't call them whatever gender or appendage they're feeling that week. But they should have every single right to look at girls in the locker room. Americans are not concerned about the silly, nonsensical things that the media continues to shove in front of their faces. And it's a lesson they just cannot learn. So this comes in a few different ways. So there's the just talking about totally different headlines completely, like these nonsensical non-stories. And then when conservatives point out, hey, there's something that's going on here that's a little bit concerning, like let's say a group of radical Muslims in Michigan chanting "Death to America" over and over and over again. The media says, well, conservatives pounce, Republicans take advantage of this to shove through their talking points, as though that's the story. It's Republicans caring about it. It's not actually the story that's happening. Or it's the more recent and I should say the most transparent form of garbage hackery, which is completely twisting a story around in order to convince people that, well, actually, the story is more like this. And since Twitter X has reduced a lot of its restrictions and its former governmental contracts to limit speech on its platform, And since people have become a lot more skeptical of the media as it is, people don't just trust the headline anymore. But still, media hasn't learned their lesson. So, from the Daily Mail, 4 teenagers, including high school football star, yes, a high school football star, aged 14 to 16, are killed in a horrible crash after the cop cruiser used a pit maneuver to stop them speeding at 111 miles an hour, as horrifying photos show the mangled wreckage. This happened in Florida. And everyone was very quick to point out, well, hey, why was the car going 111 miles an hour? Why didn't they pull over? Because as the article does eventually point out, that the police vehicle that was chasing tried to get them to slow down and pull over and turn on the lights and turn on the siren. You guys know how this works. There's a process. In every one of the 50 states, the cop gets behind you, and then they turn the lights on, and then they turn the sirens on, and then they pull up next to you. But these guys decided they would move away way faster instead of just pulling over. And that's a horrible, horrible thing that happened. It's not the cop's fault. Like, the cop murdered 4 young boys. Oh, they were going to be doctors and cure cancer, and everything was going to be wonderful. He was a high school football star. It's horrible whenever children die. Absolutely. But let's not pretend that this is the cop's fault. That kind of headline framing is transparently garbage. This is from Politico. The far right is so obsessed with making babies, they just held a whole conference about it behind the scenes at the first natal con. I'm going to tell you a secret. It's a good thing for people in the country to have children. It is. It's a great thing to have children. I'm raising a few of them myself, and it's quite the experience. It's a very, very, very good thing. It's a sign of maturing and becoming an adult. Do you know how I can say that? Because I have changed as a person since I've had kids. Like any individual that is in a marriage and actually invests time into their children, you change. You become a more invested and mature person because your priorities are set in order. That is crucial for a country. Besides the fact that other countries around the world that are not having kids are starting to die out. See South Korea and Japan. It's good to have kids. Oh, it's a right-wing talking point. The right wants to have babies. Ooh. You mean the central point of human reproduction that's been around since the beginning? Really? That's the article? Conservatives have sex? That's your move? Okay. That's certainly one of them. And then the downright just completely corrupt and dirty. So this is from Colin Rugg over at Fox. OnlyFans creator, aka an amateur porn star, Farah Khalidi, says she was paid by the Biden administration to spread, quote, political propaganda, end quote, and was told not to disclose that her videos were ads. So we have seen this for a while. The Biden administration takes all of these young Gen Z kids in together. We've seen the White House photos and the really cringy videos. And they say, hey, you're a young and sexually free young whippersnapper. Tell all of your cool, hip, happening, drinking yogurt from the tube friendly kid people to vote for old man Uncle Joe Biden. That's what you want to do. That's what the kids like. And I know, this is going to shock a lot of people, but that hasn't worked. And by the way, the Biden administration's really big polls, like trying to get Taylor Swift, who endorsed him the last election, to endorse again, it ain't working. In the last election, the last presidential election in 2020, Taylor Swift's entire national reach, she reaches billions of people on the planet, was only able to get 50,000 people registered in voting, and most of those voters were registered in blue states, meaning that Taylor Swift did relatively nothing. She couldn't even flip Tennessee, where she technically resides, to blue. So we have the Biden administration basically trying to pay the youths and these influencers to come out and instead of actually getting people who care, who really believe in the policies and the methods, you're hiring all these artificial corpses to endorse you. And then also you're trying to tweak the headlines, and it's not working. And the national polls do not show that Biden is popular on any issue in the United States other than abortion, who he is popular with progressive suburban women. And as we've already pointed out, by every single polling metric, from the most left-leaning voting analysis to the right-leaning voting analysis, the suburban woman vote is not enough to give Biden the presidency. It's just not. There is not enough in that demographic. And besides, abortion is not an issue that drives people to the polls anyway. It never has been. In all of the states where they're saying, oh, well, when it's on the referendum, overwhelming support came in for it. That's not the case. When people come in to vote for it as a single issue, such as a constitutional referendum for that state. You have people that care about the issue coming in to vote in favor of abortion. You do not have a lot of people coming to vote in favor, or I should say against abortion, in favor of pro-life laws. But when it comes to a central issue election, like a presidential or congressional election, abortion doesn't drive people out. In fact, again, Republicans are more likely to come out for immigration and the economy. Those are the two issues that Republicans and the independents in this country care about. So throwing it all in on abortion, throwing it all in on Gen Z, and by the way, of course, everyone knows this, Gen Z and millennials are not going to come out to vote for Biden. His like weird sort of split maneuver to try to get voters based on sort of being pro-Israel but not really, and sort of being pro-Hamas but not really, it's failed. Because the youths know what pandering is, and Biden comes across as basically, again, Steve Buscemi in that clip where he has the skateboard over his back and he goes, "How do you do, fellow kids?" Meanwhile, there are organizations that are enlisting young voters to actually come out and vote, and that are driving people forward because of solid ideas and not just nonsensical fairy kiss wishes of super socialist utopia. And that's organizations like the Bold Moose Project, which is putting not just this crazy Christian nationalist view on conservatism, but is actually putting forward some really stellar ideas on economic freedom, environmental responsibility for conservation's sake, not for weird climate change nonsense, and, you know, not transing your kids. We're going to be talking to Aiden Buzzetti from the Bold Moose Project up next. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Your nose is for breathing. Your mouth is for eating. And if you're breathing through your mouth, it's not because your body wants to. It's because it has to, because your nose isn't working properly. And although you've lived like this, it's no way to live, and it's having a significant impact on your life. I know you know this, and I know that taking action isn't always convenient. But at Advent, we've done all we can to make changing your life for the better as easy as possible. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. With tens of thousands of our patients, a thorough breathing triangle evaluation, along with a simple 20-minute in-office procedure called balloon sinuplasty, has opened their nasal passages, allowing them to breathe freely through their nose for good. And there's a good chance this procedure can do the same for you. We'll help you breathe through your nose again, and it will change your life.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and the allergy season is getting a jump start on all of us, and we really need to get ready to fight back. How about having Zero Res help you take on dust and dander and allergens and even bacteria in your carpets with a great spring deal? Get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $139 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning to get that true spring cleaning feel. It's unbelievable and kind of scary just how much of the uglies are in our carpets. And it's because those carpets are the largest air filter in the home. The Zero Res service is easy to line up. You can go online at ZeroResIndy.com, do the scheduling at your convenience. And don't forget the ZR water difference. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, leaving things really clean. Now mention WIBC, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $139, plus you'll get $75 off the air duct cleaning too. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZeroResIndy.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today?
Today.
Dents happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill a Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal.
At Child Fund, hope means helping millions of children living in poverty worldwide grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and safe. And that means safe at home, at school, and online.
Hope means walking this path together, all of us. Because when we work together, we can do so much more.
That's right. Hope includes you.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
Learn more at childfund.org.
Are you looking for new furniture? Now is the time during the once-in-a-lifetime sale only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Hey, this is Spencer Thompson, and I guarantee you the absolute best price on everything from Lazy Boy and Indiana-made Smith Brothers of Bern. Low price guarantee on every sofa, sectional, and recliner, plus free delivery only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus, now through Monday.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I am Tony Kinnett, and joining us today is Aiden Buzzetti from over at the Bull Moose Project. And it's amazing to see such a project come back again, because we are at a critical point in history where there is not really anyone in the political sphere on the federal level, at the state or the local level, who are really bringing forward kind of the great ideas that were such a part of American culture and exceptionalism at the beginning of the 20th century. And those ideas are too important to kind of relegate to history alone. Aiden, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start off by talking a little bit about what the Bull Moose Project is and kind of what some of your core values are that drive you guys forward.
Yeah, so the Bull Moose Project is a nonprofit. We do two main things. We engage with lawmakers and we talk with local and state officials on the more educational side. But what really drives our mission is a belief that there's been something lost in the conservative movement that we can regain, that we believe is best exemplified by Theodore Roosevelt. Principles that put the American individual at the forefront of policy, where all of our decisions from conservation to antitrust are made with the individual capacity of Americans in mind.
So when you say Americans in mind, this really drives kind of a weird spike into, I would say, what a lot of issues in modern state and federal government seem to miss, because a lot of people claim to be for Americans, but both at home and abroad, this idea that we're actually crafting policy to really drive Americans into a place of success and, again, of exceptionalism, it differs so wildly on kind of what this looks like that, again, I'm not seeing that Teddy Rooseveltian idea come forward of that, again, just putting Americans in the pilot seat of our policy, both at home and abroad. But I know that you guys work more specifically with state and local officials. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like, because that's where the changes really matter.
Yeah, so Theodore Roosevelt has this quote where he says, "This country will not permanently be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a reasonably good place for all of us to live in." And that's kind of the broad philosophy. So when we work with state and local officials, we are trying to put the community, the Americans, at the forefront. And basically what that looks like is we will go and work with state legislators. I think, okay, my state is being ruined by massive amounts of illegal immigrants. So what can I do as a state legislator to help protect my constituents and the residents of my state? Or maybe even my younger constituents cannot even afford to have a family or buy a house. That's obviously not good in the long term for my community. So what can I do to prevent that? And we go and we work with them on those legislative priorities. We connect them with other local and state legislators dealing with the same things all over the country. All of the roadblocks they face are pretty similar with all these interest groups and more establishment, old-style conservatives. And so we're hoping that if we can attack these problems on multiple different levels and get everyone connected with each other will be able to build out a long-term movement to actually accomplish real change in the first place.
And again, when you're taking a look at these kind of situational policy priorities, they don't come across as kind of a traditional, perhaps Reagan-esque conservatism in a way. They don't come across as expressly libertarian in a way, and certainly not the kind of modern progressivism or even 90s Labor Democrat style policy. It is something that is more traditionally American. Again, the idea that the same president who did indeed involve America in projects abroad, but only in ways that explicitly served Americans first, and that mandated that nothing else on earth mattered more than those who live in this country as citizens, as sovereign members of this great nation. And in an effort to, again, as he said, be a benefit for all Americans. And it's such a stark contrast to some of the things that we're seeing today, where there's this kind of utilitarian pragmatism that comes into every policy. Well, we have to consider what this is really going to mean for the people of Kuwait. It's like, wait, but what about what the people of the United States are going to think? And this comes into play in international policy as well, but in state policy, to see people on state house floors talking about groups of individuals that are not their direct constituency. I mean, it kind of gets under your skin a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, it is so beyond what state policy was intended for. You guys must have really fertile ground to advance on, at least with what you guys are up to over at Bull Moose.
Yeah, the kind of civil war that's been undertaken in the conservative movement is pretty varied, but there is a very strong ground for elected officials who realize that something is wrong. And they realize that the last 40, 50 years of policy has not been positive at all, really. And they're willing to be less dogmatic from the Reagan era and more pragmatic, more open to different kinds of policy or different strategies on implementing policy, different ways of thinking where they can sit back and say, okay, so this tax policy hasn't worked for the last 40 years. In fact, the incomes in my area have gone down, or the tax burdens have gone up and people can't afford anything. So what can we do that replaces this with something more beneficial? Like how can my constituents actually afford to feed their families or get better paying jobs? Mm-hmm. So this is not about necessarily fiscal conservative versus non-fiscal conservative policy. It's about what can we do that is inventive, that's not the same old status quo, that provides tangible economic and cultural benefits for constituents, for Americans. And exactly what you're saying, that this is not about...
That's the key.
Yeah, that is the key. It is not about other countries. It's not about foreign nationals. It's not about illegal immigrants. It is 100% how can we benefit our community now on an economic level and on a cultural level, because that's where we have some of the biggest declines overall. People have been forgotten, and the biggest part is that Theodore Roosevelt was a man of the people. Everybody loved him. He traveled around the country, reaching thousands and thousands of people, and that's why he was successful even as a third-party candidate in 1912. And if we can bring that type of energy back into conservative politics, I have absolutely no doubt that we will see more success over the long term than where we're headed right now.
And that's what I'd love to dial into, at least as a concept for the Conservative Party moving forward, because it's not something that I'm seeing in what has become kind of a populist idealism, and the idea that, well, actually, we need to sit back. We need to really consider what it means for America to be active in the world. Like, is America mean? Is America just a bunch of meanie heads who go in and wreck stuff? That's stupid. And then there's the other side of conservatism that almost says that America needs to be the big brother serving all of these other peoples. Well, what's this population of this country going to feel and all of this? Whereas, again, decidedly pro-American policy considers what is in the best interests of the individuals in the United States. Hey, you know what helps me feed my family? If those shipping lanes are open and they're able to receive good quality goods. Hey, you know what's really good? A trade policy that keeps American jobs here. And that may mean that this may be a policy that perhaps the average populist supports, or the average conservative, or the average libertarian. I like what you're saying in that these are actual tangible results. You're looking at the effects right in front of us about these kinds of policies that are good and bad for Americans immediately and in the long term. None of that has to do with any of the other kind of, I guess you described it as this civil war within Republican factionism, where realistically we're simply looking at what's best for American constituency and saying, here's what people need to be safe. Here's what they need to be well fed and be able to afford food and housing. And these are the things that we can do to make them happen in the immediacy according to the vision of the American dream.
Exactly. And, this covers, like what you were saying, that the debates over getting involved abroad. I mean, I don't think that pure isolationism is the answer. It doesn't really seem to be a realistic solution in many senses. And I don't really think that there are many politicians that advocate for that. Some of the biggest people against more aid to Ukraine, for example, they are not strict isolationists. They're realists. They are practical. They look at the effect of the war on our own military industrial complex and reference that with how our people at home are actually doing. So what's the point in funding a war abroad, decimating that country really in terms of population, when our own people are struggling to get by right now? What's the point in decimating our weapons stockpiles and not really being good at producing more at the moment, when we know that we have another geopolitical adversary right off the coast of Taiwan?
It's a kind of pragmatism that really does put it's not pragmatism in the sense that it's harsh or that it's unfeeling. It's a kind of pragmatism that, again, says immediately the problems that need to be solved have to be in the interest of Americans in the immediate and in the future. And again, whether those appear more isolationist, whether those appear more hands-on, whether that's some type of blend of the two or some kind of new approach, again, that's one of the things that I appreciate about the Bold Moves Project is your immediate focus is on the tangible effects that can be seen on the American constituency. The taxpayer, the average guy who's just trying to feed and house his family. Aiden Buzzetti from the Bold Moves Project, thanks so much for hopping on. Appreciate your taking a minute to talk with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for inviting me on, Tony.
We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Life's certainties. Taxes.
We'll take that. And that's all I had left.
Death. And Indianapolis traffic.
Hey, hon, where are you?
Now, sitting on the northeast side, I'm never coming home.
Do less sitting.
I hate traffic.
And do more living.
The long-term ramp closure.
Matt Baird traffic.
Eastbound 465 will be down to one lane. Should reopen
mornings and afternoons.
Lane restrictions on the northeast side.
On 93 WIBC.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Mortgage rates have lowered going into the spring selling season. Now is the time to act to maximize your equity. Mark Dietl has the plan and expertise to sell your home fast and for maximum value this spring. Perhaps you're worried about settling for less money with a low ball instant offer. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Crystal in Franklin had to say about working with Mark Dietl. I was moving to Kentucky and needed to move fast. I got the Mark Dietl marketing plan and was blown away. The plan worked. I got a full list price offer in the first weekend. Just like that, Mark and his team got it done. Call the agent I trust and recommend and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietl at 317-755-4232 for all the details or go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry, Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating, family-owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product. product which repels moisture, scratch resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas too. For a free quote, call 317-696-4071 or visit premierdeckcoating.com.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in because they are making a profit from you. That's the law. Yet many times a normal day ends with injuries because that business breached that duty because they knew or should have known of the dangerous condition that caused your injury. It happens every day in many ways. Slip and falls where cleaning and maintenance were ignored. Falling boxes and items stacked too high. And so many other unexpected occurrences and dangers only known to that business owner. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, let our team investigate and report back to you. The duty to protect customers from harm is the law, and our duty is to protect you after that harm. Visit forthepeople.com for more information, or on your cell phone, dial #law. That's all. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. forthepeople.com.
Mother's Day is almost here. Miss M's Home and Garden is fully stocked with high-quality annuals, trees, shrubs, decor, and more. State Road 135 in Bargersville.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I want to take 2 steps back this evening since we're on kind of a good media focus, and we're going to talk about something that was just released from the New York Post 14 minutes ago. It's an article titled, "Wealthy White Louisiana Residents Win the Right to Split from Baton Rouge and Form Their Own City." And then the thumbnail are adults with vote yes, and then also pictures of children. And they picked photos of white people. So, of course, people are, kind of curious, you might say, why the New York Post chose to describe in the story as though it was white people wanting to split away from Baton Rouge. And, or East Baton Rouge, excuse me, is the town's name here in Louisiana. And I did a little bit of digging during the last commercial break, and I found out something rather interesting. I found out 2 things. Number one, I found out that of the 86,000 residents that currently reside in St. George, it says about 20% of the total parish. So it's about 20% of the East Baton Rouge population. 70% of the St. George residents are considered majority white. Now, majority white means that includes people who are white and people who are mixed with something white. Now, I don't know if you know anything about individuals who are mixed, but when you try to go up and tell them what race you think they're a part of or what culture you think they're a part of, they get kind of upset. And why do they get kind of upset? Because guess what? It is the person who is part of the culture who is the holder of the culture, which means that as someone who is a federally registered member of the Cherokee tribe, that I get to decide if I want to be called Cherokee or I want to be called Irish. Sorry, that's my decision. You don't get to say, well, if I hold up this like Home Depot paint card next to your face, you really look this color. That's a very stupid way to do things. Again, given that the amount of melanin in your skin changes based on a lot more than who mom and dad were. Now, let's continue on here. So the town is majority white. Sure, this town is indeed. But the New York Post chose to write the headline again, "Wealthy white Louisiana residents win right to split from Baton Rouge and form their own city." Now, why would you post a headline like that? Why? Well, there is this idea in the United States that there are these white people that, they don't like black people. They don't like anybody that's not white. Because actually it's again found that individuals who are black and who make lots of money tend to live in white, affluent neighborhoods. And that also, fun fact, that the white people in the neighborhood don't care. The amount of racial hate crimes that have ever been documented in affluent neighborhoods against black individuals living in the neighborhood are like in the single digits in U.S. history. In U.S. history, single digits. So that doesn't really play. But if you kind of say, well, these wealthy white people are moving out, that's like white flight. Ooh. So if white people are moving out, then it's white flight. If white people are moving in, then that's gentrification. If white people are just staying there, that's ignoring racism. And again, the other side gets to decide what white means, so you're just completely screwed, whether you're white, black, brown, or some magical mix of anything. The most stupidest way to categorize people in all of human history. But the New York Post doesn't stop there, because the New York Post has completely gone down the toilet, back out, and then flushed again a second time. So the New York Post recently posted 2 articles. Student 18 killed after being shot multiple times outside Texas high school. Suspect in custody, say the officials. Another article. New York City mom charged with murder in shocking beating death of a 6-year-old who begged for her life. Now, I don't know if we have any investigatory journalists out there, but you may have noticed that there was a surprising lack of color attributed to those headlines. You don't know whether the suspect was white or brown or black or Asian or Jewish or whatever, because it doesn't matter. The crime was committed by someone who committed the crime. But whenever it's time to write a headline, oh, we have to condemn, the white label gets thrown out immediately. Oh, it has to be a white person. Ooh. Now, I've done just a little bit more digging, and some of the prominent members of individuals in the St. George community who voted for the community to split away from East Baton Rouge are, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They're Black Americans, but they're not mentioned by the New York City or the New York Post city story here. Oh, God forbid. You don't want to say that this might actually have just been a collective group's decision not to be part of the laws that govern East Baton Rouge. I don't know if you guys know this, but the satellite cities that surround Indianapolis, you know, like Greenwood and Avon and Carmel and Noblesville, Fishers, Zionsville, they don't want to follow the laws of the city of Indianapolis. Why? Because Indianapolis proper, downtown Indy, sucks. It's run by Hogsett, who would rather go lusting after billionaire soccer teams than govern his city. Ryan Mears, who would rather release criminals back out onto the street than, again, keep his city safe. So that now we even have to rely on young millennial city council officials like Nick Roberts to even get any infrastructure work done in town. That's where we're at. We're relying on young millennials to actually do any kind of good in Indianapolis, because the old people who've been governing Indianapolis for decades are awful at their job, are awful. No wonder the satellite towns of Indianapolis don't want to be a part of Indianapolis. Big, shocking surprise. But that can't be the story. Oh, God forbid. It's got to be the white people of Louisiana. It's absolutely silly and pathetic. Well, tomorrow we're going to be back, because you can be rest assured that more news will break. The shenanigans will kick in. We'll be here to cover it for you. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
The laundry room. For as long as I can remember, this was the only place to get a good Wi-Fi connection. Until we got Xfinity. Now we have Wi-Fi all over.